stand by for action.
Thanks for joining me. My name is Dave Milner. I am the Unpleasant Blind Guy. Let's get to it by beginning with sending good thoughts to G-Ski Rocks and Gulf Dogs. G-Ski Rocks is a man who is still in the hospital, suffering from a stroke, and G-Ski is in good shape, but of course we're sending prayers, good thoughts, happy mojo, anything we've got to G-Ski. He runs live and direct twice a week on Blog Talk Radio, a great show. G-Ski is a good man, and we appreciate him very much and want him to be in the fight, and so G-Ski should get better as soon as possible. Let us hope for that. Gulf Dogs is a man who shares a lot of interesting articles over the Twitter and who has some good thoughts and opinions of his own that he shares with others. And that is not a bad thing in these days when we need to have all the information we need out there from all sorts of different sources. And Gulf Dogs was in the hospital recently himself. Wish Gulf Dogs as good a health as he possibly can have. Now, I want to also thank Amish Man for kind comments about the show that he made on Twitter. I appreciate everyone who bothers to listen to this thing, and people who make the kind comments are, of course, also appreciated. Now, you can contact me via Twitter at UBGContact. I appreciate story suggestions, awesome American suggestions, anything that you think might be helpful, useful, or if you just want to comment. Now, let's get on to the main story of this show. And that is supplied by a longtime friend, Buddy Brannon, who brought this to my attention. It's headlined, Disabled Veteran Kicked Off U.S. Airways Plane, Refused to Put Service Dog on Floor. This is taken from KSAZ TV Fox 10 in Phoenix, and the story was filed on September the 10th. And I'm doing such an old story because there's something that hangs from it. Anyone who hasn't listened to this program before should know that I don't do the most recent stuff because the big bugs are covering that. You know, if you want to get the most recent stories, then you may want to check out things like on Blog Talk Radio, things like The Shrew every Friday, Freedom Radio as well. The Shrew is hosted by Pat Carfagno and Anna B., two great Americans, and Freedom Radio is hosted by Sergeant Tim. Those cover more current stories, or you may want to check out your favorite big bug. It doesn't matter who it is, Beck, Limbaugh, Bruce, Lash, any of those. They'll give you the current stories. What I try and do is dig into stories that the media kind of swoops down on and pecks, and then flies back up again because it's time to move on to the next story. Now, I'm going to read this one and then give you some of my impressions. And by the way, this story also comes along with a video. It is from a TV show's or TV station's website, so you would expect that, and you can go in and view that video. Phoenix, a newly released video, newly released as of September the 10th, by the way, has put Valley-based U.S. Airways in a tough position. A Vietnam vet with a service dog got into a heated discussion with a flight attendant and was escorted off the plane for security reasons. Video. No, I'd appreciate if you'd get the hell off this ground and get where we're going. Emotions ran high on board a U.S. Airways flight from Phoenix to El Paso. This video has gone viral. I'm sorry, folks, but I've earned the right to have this service animal because of my service to this country in Vietnam. I am 100% disabled. I have a service dog because of it, and everyone has to obey the ADA laws except this airline, so I'm sorry, but I'm not budging. Now, guys, let me take this apart a little bit here. Now, first of all, nobody has more respect for people who wear the military uniform of the United States of America than I do. And I had two cousins in Vietnam. So this sort of touches me personally. But this man is wrong on more than one count. Now, first of all, I think he's just using government terminology here, what someone in the government told him, when he says that he is 100% disabled. Now, I don't know where I first heard this, but I sort of agree with it. If you're 100% disabled, why are you even still alive? All right, there needs to be a little bit better measure for that. So I sort of give him a pass on that. The other thing that he says, though, is incorrect, and thereby hangs one of the things I'm going to talk about as a result of this story. He says that everyone has to obey the ADA laws. The laws that the airline, regulations that the airline was working with do not have anything pretty much to do with the ADA. What we're talking about here, in the case of airlines, is the Air Carrier Access Act of 1986. Now, as the owner of a service animal, this individual should have known this. So what he was doing at that point was giving people wrong information. I'm going to continue with the story. This passenger wants his service dog, a golden retriever, to remain seated on the empty seat next to him. A U.S. Airways spokesman said the rules are pretty clear. Service animals are to remain on the ground and under the seat in front of you. Now, I'm going to break off from this again and say that, yes, this is absolutely true. This is something that is well understood, and it should have been well understood by this individual. And I saw in the video myself that this man's seat was not on the bulkhead. Now, he might have requested a bulkhead seat, and there might not have been one available, or he might not have known about the convenience of being able to request a bulkhead seat. People with service animals who fly find it much easier to do so with a bulkhead seat because they have more leg room. All right, I'll continue with the story. If the aircraft were to experience something in the air and it needs to evacuate, you don't want that animal to be in the way of people getting off the aircraft, says U.S. Airways spokesman John McDonald. McDonald says there was also the safety of other passengers at risk here. The man told the personnel he suffered from PTSD. They worried he would get even more upset in the air. We have had conversations to the customer trying to explain what was going on, and the captain was involved. When the flight attendant wasn't able to resolve it, and in fact, many of our captains are former military people. This is an issue we are very familiar with, and unfortunately, this gentleman's reaction was what resulted in the incident. The Saturday flight was delayed. U.S. Airways said it handled the situation as best it could. Now, I'm going to stop the story again here and say I agree with that. I think given the circumstances, they showed as much respect and as much tolerance, especially given the rules of the Air Carrier Access Act of 1986, which they cited and were following. I think they did their absolute best, given the situation. I'll continue. Airport police cited the man with trespassing and booked him on another flight. There wasn't another flight out on Saturday, so the man was rebooked on Sunday flight. U.S. Airways covered the cost of a hotel room for the flight. Since that's the end of the story, I'll just say that, honestly, had I been U.S. Airways, I would have not done that. Not because this man, I feel like this man didn't deserve it because of his service to his country in Vietnam. That's not the point I'm trying to make here. It's because they acted under the rules, and they're pretty fair. I mean, blind folks go through this sort of thing all the time. They get on the airplane, and the dog goes down under the seat and in front of them. This is not an unusual thing for the airlines to request. And there's another thing involved here, which is if the dog is up on a seat next to the person and something happens, it's actually more dangerous for the dog. All right. Now, this is important for everyone, not just for disabled folks. I did want to bring this up. We should know what our rights are when we try to assert them. Now, this man was, in my opinion, in the wrong, and he was citing the wrong piece of legislation when he was talking about the rules. But yeah, it's about responsibility because not only was he responsible for himself, he was responsible for a expensively trained service animal. So these aren't just dogs. They're highly skilled service animals and they have a job to do. And it is the responsibility of the handler to know all the rules and regulations that cover them and to interact properly with the community when it comes to the rights, privileges, and responsibilities that they have both in the community themselves and to their service animals. And I think that this is good for my friends on the right to understand now that we are beginning to oppose this government that has turned tyrannical, because it is easy for us to become angry and go out there and lose it. And I don't think that does us any good. I don't think that it does our cause any good. But we can, and I think should, know our facts, know our rights, and unashamedly express them without fear. There's a right way and a wrong way to do things. And the gentleman on this U.S. Airways flight did things in the wrong way. And we should always remember that, because we can make two impressions on the public. We can either come off as the nut jobs that the press wants to make us out to be, or we can come off as reasonable Americans who are fighting for individual liberty and doing so in a calm, collected, and reasoned manner. We can assert ourselves, and we should, but we should do it in the right way. And with that, I want to move on to this show's awesome American, Corey Kalanick of the Fresno Fire Department. Now, this story was posted and updated at KCTV on September the 27th, and the person who told me about this one is Leopard Woman, someone who has supported this show since the start, and I very much appreciate her. RNN. After putting out a house fire in Fresno, California, firefighters went inside the home and discovered an unconscious kitten. One of the firefighters recorded the rescue from his point of view and shared it with the world. Corey Kalanick with the Fresno Fire Department had a GoPro video camera strapped to his helmet when he was inside the smoke-filled building and discovered a lifeless kitten on the floor. Kalanick took the kitten outside and began to resuscitate him with oxygen and water. The efforts seemed to revive the kitten. The video, set to music and edited to look like a movie trailer, was posted on YouTube in June. Since then, the rescue has received over 1.5 million views. The GoPro company took the original video, re-edited it in dramatic slow motion, and posted their version to YouTube on September the 25th. It went viral quickly, getting more than 5 million views. Unfortunately, the kitten didn't live very long after the rescue. According to a report by KCPE, the SPCA took in the kitten, but he succumbed to his injuries a few hours later. However, Kalanick's video has brought awareness to get oxygen masks, which can help save animals' lives in an emergency. According to the Emma Zen Foundation, as many as 40,000 family pets die every year due to house fires. The oxygen masks typically carried on fire trucks are designed for humans and do not fit on an animal's snout. Pet oxygen masks, on the other hand, are designed to fit animals for resuscitation. In the video, Kalanick used a child's oxygen mask on the kitten. Kalanick wrote in his YouTube post that the attention generated from his video led to get oxygen mask donations to the Fresno Fire Department. KCPE reports that several Fresno fire trucks are now equipped with oxygen masks designed for animals. Kalanick said he donated the money generated by his YouTube video to a local emergency vet. Now, I like this story for a few reasons. First of all, the problem was resolved, at least as much as it can be resolved, through donations, not through a big government grant for these animal oxygen masks on board fire trucks. I also like the spirit of volunteerism that Mr. Kalanick showed. And, you have to give a bit of a nod to the GoPro company. They saw something good, and by remaking the video and posting it again, it got the word out even more and even better. And that is my awesome American for this show. I want to thank everyone who has been listening to this program. and wish you all a wonderful week, a wonderful weekend. Until next time, thank you, and may your God go with you. Goodbye.